there, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome to the Pinfall Podcast.
Podcast.
Podcast. I'm your host, Liz. I'm joined, as always, by my lovely co-host, Mark. Getting a headache and I can't breathe, so it's like, am I really here?
Yes.
Okay, shit. Happy Raw Day. Weird episode of Raw.
It was very weird, but not horrible.
No, there have been way worse episodes. This one was there's at least several matches where I was like, okay, you know, that was worth my time. It was worth the 3 hours that I put into this fucking show, plus the 3 hours that I put into the podcast afterwards. Give me a chance here to retweet the tweet.
A lot of new feuds established today. A lot of lead-ins to TLC.
A lot of feuds that I'm excited for too.
Yeah, but also this.
Real quick.
What?
Has the cat peed twice today?
Think so. Do you want me to get up in this podcast and go get her?
Yeah, she just walked out of my room, so I was gonna grab her.
Okay.
Do you trust her?
I mean, if you want to. I don't think she has today. I hope everyone is enjoying this conversation about the cat peeing.
We have to make sure she doesn't pee on our stuff.
But as we were saying, very weird Raw. Not a bad one, not a great one. Very much, it feels like a post pay-per-view Raw just because of it. A lot of new stuff was established. And the biggest thing I'm like annoyed about, not only Dana Brooke showing up, but also Reckoning at her Raw debut, her main roster debut actually, despite Retribution being around for God knows how long. I think months at this point. Retribution's been around, but Reckoning is just now getting her debut. Kind of annoying. Kind of don't like it, but it is what it is, I guess.
I found her special co-host.
Oh great, she's gonna pee on that bed.
Little Zupagato over here, standing on my Switch, I think.
Nice. Also, drinking a Voodoo Ranger IPA.
I have a gin and soda, but I also have a Delicious Blue Moon. Delicious Blue Moon.
Either Voodoo Ranger or Blue Moon, please sponsor us.
Fun fact though, taking a lovely sip of Blue Moon Mango Wheat after a bottle of Voodoo Ranger IPA is just about as much of a smack in the face as you can possibly get.
Yeah.
Not fun. Hopefully Soup Cat settles them. You want to get into the news?
I suppose. What else are we doing?
Well, the cat's hopefully going to find a place to just, lay her tiny butt down.
No.
Just walk all over mommy's work stuff. Yeah, there you go.
I love seeing the top of your bottle in the camera, in the frame.
In the earlier on Friday, I think I had this is on my laptop is on top of notebooks right now.
Mm-hmm.
When it wasn't, you could see like this much of it, but like much closer to the camera too. And I was like, I love this balance of depth. All right, Soup Cat has apparently taken to laying on my side. I don't know. She's looking weird. Anyway.
Also, I just want to say I'm trying out something new. Well, I guess we are trying out something new this podcast, and that's I've created singles of us. So you won't be able to see, but there's your single, and there's my single. Whoa, we look kind of low res because we're running off of Discord right now. And there's back to both of us.
Are you like running like a little switchboard over there or something?
Basically, I'm trying my best. I used to be a switcher, or what we would call technical director, back when I was an intern. But, you know, maybe that's my passion.
Well, I'm excited to see how this turns out.
Yeah, me too. The only problem is that the event list shows up every single time I pull up the main screen of us. So every time it just lists all of our past followers right in front of your face.
We'll call it showcasing.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into the news. I've got quite a bit of stuff, but a lot of it's just kind of nothingness. All right, well, let's start with talking about some stuff that we saw tonight, really. So there's several imminent WWE feuds that we are seeing unveiled. Some of these are things that are going to be confirmed for TLC. Really forgot what it was. But right now it's looking like we're probably going to get Sammy versus Big E. This is not just for pay-per-views, this is in general.
Mm-hmm.
But Sammy versus Big E for the Intercontinental Championship. Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler versus the Street Profits. I almost said Roode versus Ziggler, and I was like, no. We've lost enough men. Fiend versus Randy. Lana and Asuka versus Nia and Shayna. At this point, Fiend and Randy and Lana, Asuka, Nia, Shayna have been confirmed for TLC, along with some other stuff that you told me about, I think, right? I think there were like 2 others.
2 other matches?
Yeah. I think it was Jay and Daniel Bryan and Roman and Kevin, right?
Yeah, there's Roman and Kevin Owens, there's Daniel Bryan and Jey Uso. And then I think they're waiting to announce Drew and AJ after today, obviously.
That was looking a little hairy, so.
It was.
Don't blame them.
Yeah, especially with Braun.
Also, I haven't had any water today, and I'm taking like sips of this fucking LaCroix. Like, God has blessed my tongue. I wonder I can't goddamn breathe. I don't know. So Kevin Nash is going to be in a film.
Cool.
Don't know what it's called. It sounds like it's going to be a real fucking gem.
What's it called?
It is called COVID, semicolon, or COVID-19, semicolon, invasion.
That sounds so stupid.
Oh, you think? You think now?
Any movie that's made about COVID is going to suck, and everybody will hate. So don't make a movie about COVID, because nobody wants to live in this. Nobody. There's not a single human being who wants to live in a pandemic right now. I mean,
yeah, it's like we live in it as it is. I don't need to see a movie about it.
Just watch Contagion like 50
I don't care what
genre
genre the movie is. Or just, you know what? Even better than that, go back a little further. Watch Pandemic. No, Outbreak. It's called Outbreak, not
Outbreak,
Pandemic.
yeah.
With Dustin Hoffman.
Hoffman.
Really fuck me. With Robert Hoffman. Plus 2 really good looking dogs.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching that. I've had to see that movie like 3 times, and because I went to public school, and that's what you do in public school. You watch movies. I watched that like 3 times. Every single time I watched it, I was like, oh fuck, that's terrifying. That's horrible. Imagine what that must be like. And now we're here. Weirdly enough, the one thing public school actually prepared me for.
Yeah.
Yay!
Did they also prepare you for the people who are super anti-mask and...
No, everyone seemed to take it real seriously in Outbreak.
The
real fucking seriously.
The government's failed response.
Well, the government's failed response was sort of a part of it, so...
Well, I know in Contagion, it's like the government tries really hard to fix it.
Well, in Outbreak, it's more like they're trying to fix it, but no one can really agree the best way to fix it.
Right.
Also, they don't talk about the mass job loss that happens, though.
But also, don't make a movie about COVID.
Sorry.
If you're gonna make a movie about COVID, make it a documentary.
Maybe we could like wait a year or two on that, even.
There's already one made. It's already been released. I'm pretty sure there's several out actually. My JustWatch.com feed, my the new movies feed. I've seen several COVID themed movies, like documentaries.
Anyways, before I like light myself on fire. So Devon Dudley is currently dealing with some health issues. My apologies. I have a hair in my mouth.
Very nice.
It's because I had the cat so close to my face. Sorry, Devon Dudley. I'm gonna pretend like I got it just to get through this. So Devon Dudley's Mark's been mean to me all day, so this isn't a shocker. He's dealing with some health issues. He says that he wants to get back to being with the WWE in the future. I am assuming in producing roles, not so much wrestling.
Yeah, no, he's been a producer.
Right. That's the way that the article is phrased. Sounds like because it says he hopes to be back with WWE. I was like, I don't know how you mean, but he says he's hanging in there, that he's had some health issues lately. Hopefully that he's going to be back soon, but has to see what doctors say. It's been kind of rough, but he's hanging in there, doing what he can. Part of me wonders if it has something to do with COVID, since anytime anyone's like, I've got health issues, I'm just like, it's the pandemic, isn't it? Because no other health issues exist.
Part of me also wonders, like, is it health issues and it related to COVID, but you're not saying it's COVID because you don't wear a mask? You don't want anyone to know? That's just my guess. Like, the only reason I would assume
people who wear masks can still get it.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is that a reason that you would have COVID and not tell anyone publicly is because you don't wear a mask. And you're embarrassed of it.
I don't know. I've thought about that sometimes. And I get like stressed because I can't breathe half the time because my lungs are shit. I just assume it's COVID. And then I'm like, but what if I have to tell people it's COVID? Then they're going to assume I don't wear a mask. So I do. But anyways, he's hopefully going to be back. Hopefully he's going to be okay. Apparently he was also involved in creating the beloved Jeff Hardy throwing urine in the face of Sheamus segment.
Of course he was.
No offense, Devon.
Was he also responsible for karaoke?
I'm just gonna assume he got sick before then. I don't think. Well, those names are redacted now. Also, some interesting news as far as NXT and AEW are concerned. For the first time in what feels like forever, NXT actually surpassed AEW in ratings this past week. Mind you, this is the second week that NXT has gone a little over 10 o'clock, ending around 10:05, 10:10, which I think is their way, because I think Triple H kind of wants to extend the time, which, Mark, you're not thrilled about. I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind if they extended NXT and then scaled back Raw. It'd probably be more better.
I want all brands to be 2 hours, because then you get like Raw, where you're trying to just fill the time with anything.
I think the thing is that NXT really kind of does 2 straight hours of fights. There's not a ton of promo shit happening. There is one brand that I think would benefit from 3 hours. I would first guess NXT.
The thing with introducing 3 hours to NXT, though, is I can almost guarantee you would get like just random matches of like Casey Catanzaro and Kaden Carter just fighting Xia Li several times, or fighting Santana Garrett.
Who's to say that it has to take another hour?
I guess
Like,
nobody.
Who's to say that it can't just be an extra half hour?
Extra half hour would be fine.
Yeah.
That's like one
Then
more
that could
fight.
be what they do in the promos. I think a lot of the reason why they want to extend it has a lot to do with what happened 2 weeks ago, where the Rhea Ripley Io fight was so fucking awesome. It looked like the last 3 seconds had to be rushed, because then they had to have Brand, or they had to have Finn come out, and then Undisputed Era and the Brand, and it was a whole fucking thing that was forced into the span of like 5 minutes. So I think that's a good argument to be like, okay, we could have extended the Io fight. We could have had a commercial break. Finn Balor talking. Could have taken longer. There could have been more of an interaction between the Brand and Undisputed Era. It wouldn't have been like Rhea and Io are walking out hugging, and Finn's walking in like, I'm back. Hi.
I wonder.
Okay.
I wonder.
Continue.
What's the time slot for AEW?
It's literally at the same time, I think. That's why it's the Wednesday Night War.
But when does it end? Is what I'm asking.
10.
Ends at 10?
I believe so.
That might be why they're considering it. Because there's an extra hour of NXT, and wrestling fans might want something to tune into. They would have a half hour or hour of NXT after AEW ends.
Right. No, I totally get that. I don't see why that would be not something that they're considering.
Mm-hmm.
I also do think that NXT deserves a little more time, just based on like skill alone, not just based on marketing.
Yeah.
It's like the only brand right now where I genuinely enjoy every moment that we're watching.
It would make sense if we're talking about just like brand wise, because you have SmackDown, who's very, they're more showy, they're more like mainstream TV, 2 hours, very fitting time. It's like a movie basically. Raw, kind of similar. It's on USA. 2 hours would be very fitting for that. NXT's trying to be very much like, kind of indie wrestling ish. Like that's kind of the vibe that they've been going with, or at least were going with. And so a longer time frame would kind of fit that branding, that brand image, than like Raw.
Yeah, I think also, again, because they already jam-packed the problem with SmackDown is that it feels like you get 2 fights and then a lot of promos that just aren't that interesting half the time.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas NXT, it feels like we get like 7 fights, and usually with 2 of them I'm like, this could have gone on for longer. We didn't have time. And we get like 5 seconds of promos, which I don't mind. If you're not interested in crafting a promo that's good, then fine.
I'd rather have 5 seconds of like great promo than like 5 of the same-ish promo that's average, like Raw does.
Or literally every other one is them being like, well, I'm gonna kill so-and-so. And they're like, well, that makes sense because you guys have a match.
Yeah, like let's look through how many promos today featured the Miz and Morrison. We had Miz TV. We had that promo with Sheamus. We had a promo with AJ. We had an interview with the Miz and Morrison. And that's about it. And we technically had the Sheamus and Keith promo, which is talking about that. So that's, was it 4 promos just about that one thing alone? If you decrease that time slot, you could just shove your point into one promo, one really well-made promo, and that's it. You don't need all this stuff. You could have just kept Miz TV and the AJ Styles promo. That's it. That's all you need. Everything else was pointless.
Again, that's what I'm saying. It's like I'd rather have. I don't think NXT cares about promos that much, and the promos that they do are good. This is not to say that the promos that they do are shit. The promos that they do are good, maybe save for the Legato promos, which just annoy me.
The Xylee promos.
Those don't annoy me. Those just confuse the piss out of me. But it's just like, if you're not interested in making your show about promos, which Raw and SmackDown are very promo driven, that's fine. And they do it well because they do 5 hours. 5 hours. Yeah, 5 hours. Haha.
Oh my god, imagine.
I'd kill myself. Even with NXT, I'd kill myself. But then they do 2 hours of like straight good fighting, and even when the fights aren't good, they're better than like half the fights that we see on the main roster. Like, there's so many fights like with Jake Atlas where like we're kind of like, oh well, it wasn't that good. But if I compare that to half the fights that I think are shitty on the main roster, I'm like, this was spectacular. This is WrestleMania material. So, anyways, I have one last piece of news. I'll avoid talking about Chris Jericho tonight. You're welcome, everybody. I want to leave on a good note. Sweet.
Still love how you still bring up Chris Jericho, even though there's no Chris Jericho news.
There's Chris Jericho news. I'm keeping it to myself.
But yeah, you still bring up his name. I think you're in love with him.
I already feel like I'm gonna die from COVID one day. I'll need to increase those chances tenfold. But no, sweet Leon Ruff and I might say this wrong. Aja Smith, aka Lady Ref number 2, engaged.
I heard.
I think it's lovely. Yeah, I'm happy. It's funny because we literally just were talking about how I was like, oh yeah, he's dating this girl. We were like, oh, amazing. And then they got engaged, and you know what? They're welcome. I played Cupid a little bit there.
Yeah, you played Cupid?
Everyone. Yeah, I played Cupid.
Alright.
On the double click there.
Leon Ruff was watching the podcast and was like, you know what? Liz really brought up me and Aja. Yeah, I might engage her.
He's like, you know what? Now that Liz has mentioned that we're dating, I've remembered that we're dating, and therefore I think it's time I marry this woman.
Or it's like, oh no, they know that we're dating now, so we have to take it a step further.
Gotta keep them on their toes.
Alright.
Next week it's gonna be Leon Ruff and Aja are expecting a child.
Alright. Matches and promos.
Try to get through this in, timely fashion, I guess.
Alright,
so... We spent 3 hours on the news.
Yeah. So we started off with a moment of bliss. A really wacky and fun moment of bliss with Randy Orton as the guest. He comes on and everything's just weird. Everything is very weird between these two, and like the Randy basically just says, I found out Fiend's weakness. I found out his weakness. And then the Fiend starts coming and lights turn off and everything right when they start to confront each other. And Randy says, oh, what does he say? He says like, now I'm sure, or something like that. What does he say?
Because he's basically saying like, I know who's pulling the strings here, implying that it's the Fiend.
Yeah.
And the lights go out the first time, and he's like, now I know. And Alexa Bliss said, straight up fucking take me to church on this one.
What'd she say?
Take me to church, Mark. You don't know what she said?
I forget.
Oh, Well, the lights went down like a second level, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I think she basically said something along the lines of like, "But are you really sure?" Something like that. And I
No,
she said, well, she implied that she's also potentially pulling the strings.
she mimics or she copies whatever Randy Orton says. Like she says the same thing. Now I'm sure, or something like that. Can't remember.
End point of this is that she basically implies that she could be the one pulling the strings as to who the Fiend is going after.
Right.
That's pretty much where this goes. And my little soul stopped in my fucking chest. I said, I don't like that they've made you into a little, and yet at the same time, you are such a boss bitch.
But after they have their little thing, or actually before that, Randy talks about the voices in his head because apparently that song is nonfiction. That song is about Randy's life. Then the Fiend shows up, and we see Alexa has jumped into Randy's arms, or Randy picked her up. Fiend comes in the ring and approaches Randy and basically asks for Alexa, or asks for Randy to give Alexa to him. Which basically solidifies that Alexa is her weakness. And then Randy starts laughing and backs off and says, "Who's laughing now?" But this is the important part in the story. I think this really gives Randy a fighting chance, and if it ends up being that fear is the Fiend's strength, then Randy could potentially be fearless now going into this, and give him a real fighting shot. Also, did you mention when we were talking about the TLC matches? Did you mention Randy Orton versus the Fiend or Bray Wyatt?
I mentioned the Fiend. I didn't mention him versus Bray Wyatt, which would be a different.
Whoa, the Fiend versus Bray Wyatt?
Different stroke. I mentioned the Fiend. What I meant is I didn't mention it could be him versus like RKO versus Bray.
Okay. But yeah, that's one match that's basically confirmed for TLC right now. Unless things change. Things change all the time in WWE. Who knows anymore?
As long as neither of them get injured.
Yeah. But Randy's very susceptible to injuries, so. And plus he's not going for the title now. What actually, I shouldn't say what I was about to say. Because Randy is a very integral part of the roster right now. He's like the only legend still around. But after that, we move on to, oh boy, Jeff Hardy versus Elias in the Orchestra of Destruction.
I have so many notes for this too. All right.
Let's get into it.
I missed last Symphony of Destruction. Hate to say it. Missed that one. We start with a kick to the shoulder of Elias. Elias is then sent over the ropes. Jeff kicks him between the top and second rope, sending him towards the ramp. Jeff goes in with a violin, but is caught by a knee from Elias. Jeff gets onto Elias's shoulders and then is slammed face first into the apron. We start getting a little more involved in the actual instruments around the arena. And we are greeted with the Shinsuke Nakamura Memorial Grand Piano. If you were not watching the last Symphony of Destruction, it is called that because Shinsuke was body slammed onto a grand piano that was supposed to break. It was not scored properly, and so he was just slammed into a straight up fucking piano.
And he might still have some vertebrae still in there to this day.
Yeah. To be fair though, different piano from this one because that one was black.
It was.
This one was brown.
Yeah.
Jeff gets slammed into the piano. Elias notices that the cover of the piano is moving, He opens it up, and there's R-Truth. Like a little fucking vampire. He hops out. All 24/7 championship contestants follow him. Jeff, for whatever reason, does a back body drop to Gulak. Elias clotheslines Grand Metalik. Lindsay comes over to mourn Grand Metalik's passing. Then Jeff and Elias get guitars to smash over the backs of Gulak and Lindsay. Not sure why this happened. But whatever. So then there are forearms to Elias. The inverted atomic drop, the double leg drop, the drop kick, and then a splash to Elias, the whole fucking shebang. There's a failed twist of fate. Hardy is then sent into a guitar that was set up in the corner. Elias starts going all Wolverine with some guitar picks between his knuckles, begins punching Jeff Hardy. Not sure why he would do that. Looks like it would just hurt him as much as Jeff.
Yeah, I saw that and was like, as a kid, I've done something like that before. Like I've
think everybody
mocked,
has.
yeah, mocked like whatever in between our fingers and be Wolverine and trying to punch stuff. It goes into your own palm, and that would do exactly that with the guitar picks. Except I don't think it would even hurt Jeff at all. It would just push right into his own hand. But
Especially because it's the soft part. I feel like it going into and not even the soft part, but whenever something pinches the skin between your fingers, it kind of fucking hurts.
It does.
It feels like there's a lot of nerves there, and it's also very thin.
And then you tear.
I don't think I'd want something going straight into that.
You tear like the skin between the fingers. That'll hurt for a long time.
Yeah. Anyways. So Elias starts punching Jeff Hardy with his little Wolverine toothpicks. Toothpicks. Jesus fucking Christ. Guitar picks. I really hope your mom's not watching this one. I've sworn too much. Whenever she says she's watched, I'm always just like, I'm sorry. But nice girl.
Yeah, no. When she mentioned she watched this past weekend, I was like, okay. I thought to myself, you've definitely heard both of us swear. And for those who don't know, my mom is a very big Christian woman.
A good Christian woman.
Yeah. So she doesn't hear me swear a lot, and I do it a lot on this podcast. And she might be watching right now. Actually, she told me she was going to bed, so probably not watching. My dad might be though.
Actually, I was on the phone with my mom the other day, and I dropped 2 F-bombs, and she didn't say anything, but I was like, oh my god, what have I done? Okay, the childish fear was struck into me. I was like, I do. Is she gonna scream at me? Anyways, Elias then starts playing the drums with Jeff Hardy's head. He then sends Jeff into the post. Elias runs at him. Jeff dodges him, sending him into a gong, and then another set of drums. Jeff gets Elias back in the ring, picks up a guitar. Elias stops him, I believe, with a pump knee strike. He goes to powerbomb Jeff, but it is countered by Mr. Hardy with a head scissors. Hardy then attempts the Whisper in the Wind, but Elias catches him on the way down with the guitar like a little tennis ball of a man. Elias then takes the broken neck of a guitar and says, "You want to end my career? All right." And runs at Jeff, who's right in front of an amp, and shoves the guitar neck into the amp, thusly electrocuting the absolute piss out of himself. I said, first of all, if that's plugged in, that is on absolutely everyone else's ass. My god. Second of all,
I just don't know.
Not convinced.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'm not convinced that is the reaction that would happen if you, because the bottom of a guitar neck is mostly wood because it goes into the guitar basically. Metal doesn't start that down, that far down. So to stab wood into an amp, unless it touched the metal, which I don't think it could have.
I mean, they're guitar strings.
Also, I've worked with amps before. I'm not sure how easy it is to truly stab a fucking hole
Liz?
into an amp.
Liz,
Sorry.
this is the same company that used a prop eye for Rey Mysterio to lose an eye, not
I know.
once, but twice.
No.
Suspension of disbelief.
Anywho. Right, so Elias is now electrocuted. Jeff Hardy hits Mr. Electrocuted Elias with a cello, or as either Tom or Byron called it, a bassoon. Very different instruments, not even from the same family. Suspension of disbelief again. Hardy then gets Elias onto a table, puts a bunch of string instruments on top of him, and then Swanton bombs down onto Elias, thus winning the match, but also knocking the back of his head into the edge of the fucking stairs.
So who really won at the
Jeff
end of
Hardy's
the day?
chiropractor.
You notice Jeff hustled the fuck out of there as soon as
Jeff did not stick around.
as soon as he got the recount, he just got up, walked out, he literally waved his way out. Huh?
He had the tambourine though.
Yeah. And then he just booked it out of there. He was like, I'm going to the hospital right now.
Yeah. I mean, that was a hard fucking hit, and because of how small the corners are in the ringside area, you have to imagine that was pretty full-on contact. It was a very large senton, so like, Jesus H, Jeff Hardy. Both you and Matt have families. Please stop trying to die young.
Yeah, Cameron Grimes will be very sad.
I don't even like Jeff Hardy.
Yeah.
Also, Jeff, you got a painkiller addiction. If you hurt yourself, dude, you're on your own with that one.
He just
can't take anything.
He wants to go back on it.
Dude, no.
Jesus H. But anyway, moving on. After that match, we have a promo between Keith Lee and Riddle, where Keith Lee's backstage. Riddle approaches the Limitless One and just talks about the triple threat, the sudden death triple threat match that's to come, because for some reason they couldn't just call it a goddamn triple threat. And as Riddle's talking, Keith Lee just gets bored and tired and just walks away. He pulls a Batman. He pulls a Batman on Riddle. After that, we have Retribution backstage, and Mustafa is... What is that? Oh, it's a little kitty.
That's your animal.
Little Kimden.
You just snuggled.
I hope she's enjoying the podcast, even though she can't hear me.
I don't know.
But we had Mustafa backstage, talking about Ricochet, saying he tried to convince Ricochet to join the cause, but that didn't work, and Slapjack is going to fight him tonight, because actually it makes the most sense. They're very similar weight classes and very similar styles, so I thought this would actually be a really good. But this is all about teaching Ricochet a lesson at the end of the day. And then we had a little promo with Ricochet, a little one right before the match.
Like he'd been crying.
Yeah, he had been crying. But he's talking about Mustafa, person who was his friend. Yes, Blucho, Slapnuts W. Immediately. But yeah, then we move on to the match. And Blucho, I don't know if you noticed, we've got a new feature in the podcast. We've got singles. Oh, I don't know if you were here earlier. But yeah. Anyway, Liz, do you want to talk about the match?
Just for you, Splucha.
Yeah, just for you. Only you can see.
Yeah, I guess I'll talk about the match. My sweet Slapjack. Little Apple Jacks. Ricochet immediately goes off the ropes into a crossbody onto Slapjack. He just kind of starts unloading with a bunch of punches and chops in the corner. Little Slapjack punches Ricochet. Ricochet puts a boot in his face. Sends a massive back elbow to Slapjack. Gotta stop using nicknames for him in my fucking notes. I'm never gonna say anything right. Anyways. Ricochet begins staring down Mustafa, who's at the ringside area. And Slapjack pulls Ricochet headfirst into the buckles. There's a dropkick to Slapjack, and then just like I can never tell if it's like Ricochet did something amazing or if Slapjack sold the move just so fucking well. But Ricochet just sent the nastiest fucking forearms to Slapjack, and Slapjack went goddamn flying.
Slapjack's like Cedric, where he just sells stuff amazingly. And yes, Bucha,
You just don't understand. The law of physics should still apply to your body.
No. Not with cruiserweights. But yes, Bucha, we do need kitty zoom-ins. And welcome Corey to the podcast. Welcome.
In case you were wondering.
There she is.
There's that for now.
All for glory,
Princess.
plus the blue moon.
Moon. Blue moon. That. You've seen better days, honey. So there's a crossbody over the top rope that brings Slapjack down to the mat. Then a standing shooting star to Slapjack. Mustafa takes matters into his own hands, calling out not Dio Madden and Crowbar. They catch Slapjack after Ricochet throws him over the top ropes. Ricochet then dives out onto all three men. Dana Brooke fucking comes in just to slap Mustafa because Mia attacked her. Very random. Ricochet is then rolled up by Slapjack. Ricochet kicks out. He kicks old T-Bar in the head, kicks Dio Madden behind the neck, and then Slapjack just says, fuck this, wrenches Ricochet down to the goddamn ground and pins him. Slapjack said the match is over.
Can I just say something?
You can. It's your podcast, too.
You know what annoys me about Retribution? I'm just realizing this.
You mean Retribution?
Yeah, Retribution. For those who've watched Talking Shop Mania.
Let me pretend it's my joke.
Retribution is supposed to be this scary force that comes in and is trying to take over, is trying to destroy the WWE. And they were scary from the beginning when they were all destroying stuff, when it was just random people just destroying everything. But you look at it now, nobody fears them. Not a single person on the roster fears Retribution. I mean, you had Dana Brooke just come in and slap Mustafa on the face. It's like, if you're creating this force that's supposed to be like scary and violent, you should have some people like fear them, even if it's people who aren't involved in the storyline at all. Just have superstars like cower in fear, I guess. Like Dana should have been one of those people. Ricochet's probably the closest, but he's just sad. He's just sad. He's not scared.
I also think that the funniest thing to me is that, like, when we had everybody kind of unveiled, I sort of thought, okay, well, T-Bar's frightening. Dio Madden's frightening. They're two big dudes. Like, they're massive. The person who's been the most successful is fucking Slapjack.
I can actually.
Shane goddamn Thorne.
I'm gonna pull up the stats right now of everyone in Retribution.
This is probably the best push Shane Thorne has gotten in a long ass time.
Alright, so Reckoning has I mean, this is spoiler for later, but 0 wins, 1 loss. Let's see about the others. Hard to find them, but they're all bunched together.
I mean, to be fair, as far as reckoning is concerned, the time it took you to announce that stat was about the amount of time it took for her to lose her fucking match. So
yeah. Mace and T-Bar both have 1 win, 3 losses. And then lastly, Slapjack, 2 wins, 4 losses. Do we want to count Mustafa in there as well?
dude, Mustafa, by the way, annoying the piss out of me. I gave him a pass with the mask. I did. He has been the most annoying little piece of shit in the world lately.
I do like that he ditched the mask and the glove, at least for now. But I'm not annoyed as much as you are by him. I think he's like, I don't think he's pulling off the leader role so well. But I don't think it's offensive. It's definitely nowhere near as good as MVP leading the Hurt Business. Like, I don't think you can get better than that at this point.
Oh, I thought you were gonna read Mustafa's.
What? Oh, you want me to?
I thought you were gonna read Mustafa's stat.
So Mustafa is doing better than everyone, fittingly. He's 8-6 this year, just this year alone.
Okay, but that's not including Retribution, Mustafa. Like, I mean, it is, but it's not specifically just that.
Right. That's Mustafa. That's Mustafa all year.
It's Mustafa before and after.
With a couple main event matches thrown in there.
Huh. Anyways, match ended. Your turn. It's TV.
Give me 1 second. I'm just charging my phone right now.
Oh my god. Here we go.
I'm done. All right. So, Miz TV. We've got our guest Sheamus. Lovely boy Sheamus, who comes out in his amazing coat, and you can't see Liz's face for now, which is fitting because she looks pissed. You can only see me smiling.
Garbage!
You can only see me smiling about
I
how
hate that fucking coat.
Great Sheamus's coat is. It looks so comfy, it's so fashionable, it fits him so well, and no wonder he keeps wearing it. Just ignore Liz, just look at me. Alright, so on Miz TV, Sheamus just comes out right off the bat annoyed at everything. He's been annoyed since this morning, and annoyed when he walks in and just wants to get this show just fucking over with. But then the Miz reveals that he just wants to talk about Drew McIntyre. That's it, just Drew McIntyre. And I think that's where the storyline's gonna go. That everyone only cares about Drew. They don't give a shit about Sheamus anymore, which would be a very fitting storyline considering where Sheamus has been put in the WWE and how he's been booked. I'd be all for that feud.
His whole original storyline going into this year.
Right. Kind of that he's not getting the respect he deserves, but this would be on a more intimate level because, you know, this is his best friend or one of his best friends. It would be like if this was happening with Cesaro, which I think it would be more fitting if it was Cesaro. But going back to Miz TV, Miz just tries to talk Sheamus into betraying his friend, because, you know, he's been ignored, he's been a second thought, yada yada yada. And so he proposes a betrayal. Help Miz cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase, saying that if Miz was champion, first person he would let challenge him would be John Morrison, like in a second, in a heartbeat. And so he basically compares that to Drew and says Drew should have let Sheamus get a title shot right off the bat. Miz kind of has a point. And then Miz just laughs about it and gets in Miz's face, or Sheamus laughs about it and gets in Miz's face. And then punches both of them. then is hit in the back by the briefcase and dents the briefcase. And then we fade out and go to a promo with Asuka and Lana. Where they're now a team. They're facing Shayna and Nia. God. And then we go to Shayna and Nia backstage. Or I guess in the little green room area.
Gorilla.
The gorilla room. Is that what it's called?
The gorilla. Or I think it's either the gorilla or gorilla. I've heard it both ways.
Okay. Yeah, they're in the gorilla. The guerrilla. And it's they're just talking about losing to Lana and how Shayna finds offense to losing to Lana, but not so much Asuka. Like she said, it's one thing to lose to Asuka, but Lana. And then they're arguing over like what caused them to lose their last time. Stuff that makes you not so confident in their tag team, because I want them to succeed as a tag team because A, I want Shayna to have a title constantly, and B, I think that this tag team has been best for both of their careers, and help push them forward even more. So if they break up, that would negatively impact both of their careers, which would suck.
I don't think it would negatively impact Shayna's career. I think it would negatively impact Nia's.
You think so?
I think it might impact how often Shayna is booked, only because Shayna doesn't really have a lot of people she can go against based on her character and her style. But
Right.
she's pretty fucking amazing as it is. Nia needs more character stuff than skill.
Yeah. I guess my biggest fear is just it negatively impacting Nia's character because of how Shayna has been kind of rubbing off on her.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
And plus, I don't think they would ever give Shayna a real shot at like the Raw Women's Championship just yet, considering we have Charlotte coming back. At least anytime soon, they wouldn't give her a shot.
I don't know about that, because I mean, she's had plenty of shots even when Charlotte was around and Becky was around.
No, when they were around, she was still in NXT.
That is absolutely not true. 2019 Elimination Chamber, please. Thank you.
But Shayna came to Raw this year.
No, she did not. Or maybe it was 2020 Elimination Chamber.
Oh, maybe it was that.
Either way,
Mm-hmm.
she had a shot.
I know she was in last year's Survivor Series as like part of NXT.
Right. So then, yeah, she had a shot at the title this year, though.
But I think you have Charlotte coming back and you have Mickie James on the roster, who hasn't really gotten a fair shot yet. You have Lana, who's reportedly going to be pushed. I think if Shayna turned to singles, she would be kind of put in the same route that Natalia's put in now. Or that Bianca's even put in, because Bianca hasn't gotten any kind of shot at all. She was like
They're setting her up for a feud with Bayley.
Yeah, but that doesn't put her in any like title shot. That just puts her in a big feud, which is important. Because at the end of the day, it's just screen time and getting paid for that. But I don't know. I'd like to see her with a title, because she's not going to go to the SmackDown title anytime soon, because there's Carmella.
Sure.
So do you want to jump us into the tag team match?
Yeah, I will. This was a fucking ride. So we first have Shayna versus Lana. Lana trips Shayna, gets her into a headlock. Shayna gets up and knocks Lana down. Asuka gets in. There's a dropkick to Shayna. Nia gets in. Lana helps Nia out of the ring, basically. It looked like Asuka was setting up for a move that would cause Nia to stumble back, and Lana held the ropes open for her so that she would go through the ropes. However, Nia didn't stumble at all and just kind of walked herself over to the opening that Lana had created for her and bopped herself out. Which, yeah, whatever. Lana and Asuka set up for a tandem offense by basement drop kicking their way through the ropes. But Shayna and Nia catch them and do what they do best, which is in sync swinging with Lana and Asuka against the barricade. We get Nia versus Lana. There's a sleeper hold on Nia. Nia then slings Lana onto the ground. There's some forearms that send Lana into the mat. Nia moves on to choking her out against the ropes. Shayna gets in. Shayna starts using Lana as her own little punching bag, which I thought was very resourceful. She gets a shin lock onto Lana. Shayna then sends Lana from the ring. Nia's the legal woman at this point. Nia sends Lana into the barricade, and Lana sends Nia into the post. Very nearly, like, it looked almost like she cracked fucking Nia's head open. Like, it looked like that was, like, the next logical step. But Shayna gets in, Asuka gets in. There's a face breaker onto the shins of Asuka. And a hip attack to Nia. Asuka then drop kicks off the second rope down to Shayna. Hip attacks her. There's a super kick to Shayna. Lana gets in, goes up to the top rope, crossbody Shayna. Shayna rolls through, gets the Kirifuda clutch locked in. Nia pulls Asuka off the apron. Asuka quickly gets back in, sends a knee to Shayna's face to break the pin. And then there's a cover on Shayna and they win.
Oh, you know, I'm not hating how they're pushing Lana. I think she's actually a talented wrestler and not like diva-y like Dana or Mandy, even though Mandy's not that bad.
I hate her character.
Yeah, her character where she's like pathetic and just cries a lot.
Ditzy.
It's like you've been a wrestler. You've been a wrestler for so long. You've gotten to this point. Why are you crying so much when you're berated like this? How did you make it this far?
Also, like, Lana was such a bitch when it came to Miro and when it came to Bobby.
Yeah, this is a different
character. Are we
character.
all of a sudden getting... Yeah, this is like little pussy Lana. Not to use a vaguely derogatory term. I am a lady, I can.
But after that we had a promo with Sheamus. Sheamus and Drew backstage. And you know, they're just mad at the Miz and Morrison. But, you know, I think Drew says something to really tick off Sheamus a little bit. Oh no. Sheamus says something like, I would have, like, I'm glad you came out to help. I would have done the exact same for you. But it's like, Drew come out to help? Or is Sheamus saying that he wouldn't have come out to help Drew? I'm confused. Or is he just being sarcastic through literally the entire thing?
I could almost definitely tell that he was being sarcastic for the entire thing. Because at the end of the day, like, what you expected as, like, the viewer was for Drew to be like, oh man, that was ridiculous. And for Sheamus to actually be pissed off. Sheamus really wasn't that pissed off at all. He was just like, whatever. I hate them, so.
Yeah. But then after that we had the New Day walk out before their match. Or what will be their match. They walk out. And they talk about Thanksgiving. And Woods talks about how he's thankful for the fact that he's now host of G4. Which is awesome. And I'm really glad that they shouted that out on the show, but kind of weird that they didn't. If they can shout out that, why couldn't they shout Sasha being in the Mandalorian? Confusing. But then they had like flashbacks with their matches with the Hurt Business. and they say that we've won basically everything. I think we're what are they, like 1-3, 1-4 against them? But then the Hurt Business comes out, or rather,
3 for 3.
1-3.
3 for 3.
Okay. MVP walks out with Cedric and Shelton, and MVP corrects him. He says, "No, we're actually like a little more even, 1 for 2 or 2-2 or something like that, or tied, whatever." Because John Cole, he gave us the win last time. But then Cedric is like on some kind of crack today. He's like jittering.
Yeah, he was weird.
Yeah, he like jittered the whole time and like really he sprinted into the ring, got in Woods' face, and like attacked him, just started shouting in his face, and we went to commercials, and then we came back and then we went to the match. Xavier versus Cedric.
Right, we did. Yeah, Cedric's like going on like a secondary heel turn, it feels like. I don't know how to explain it, but we first start with Xavier just unloading on Cedric. There is a kick to Cedric through the ropes. Xavier gets back into the ring after being bopped out. Cedric then lifts him, slinging him over the ropes so that he lands ribs first on top of them. Cedric then gets his Hurt Business shirt and shoves it, or actually I think it was his Cedric Alexander shirt, and shoves it in Xavier's face. He gets a waist lock on Woods. There's a slap to Cedric, and then a sleeper hold on Xavier. Xavier goes down, busting Cedric's jaw into the side of his head. There's some forearms to Cedric, a kick to the midsection of Cedric. Xavier then slides out over his head against the ropes. It's in. We get a kip up with a hard fucking forearm. There's then a brainbuster to Xavier, a kick to his spine. Cedric begins attempting to suplex him. Xavier at this point is standing on the apron. Cedric's in the ring. Looked like he was trying to suplex him over the ropes. But he wasn't able to make it happen. Instead, he kicks Xavier in the midsection, sending him off the apron. Cedric then dives out to Xavier, but Xavier dodges him, sending him into the barricade. Immediately once they get back in, Cedric just picks up Xavier, tosses him up into a lumbar check against his fucking shins, absolutely decimating Xavier. Cedric wins, and then just fucks off, leaving his tag team partner, Shelton, and MVP standing in the middle of the ring like, dude.
Stuff's falling apart in the Hurt Business.
It's a little messy.
Notice Bobby wasn't there.
Bobby had his own things going on.
No, he didn't.
Yeah. Did you get that suit on?
Sure. But then after that, we had a little promo with AJ Styles. I think this is where, yeah, he's approached by Riddle, who's excited about the match, and calls AJ cute. But AJ gets mad about that, like the toxic male he is. Yeah, that's basically the end of that. They're still using the code names. Fun.
Matt Riddle's still using the code names.
No. Somebody called Drew Fireface. I can't remember who it was.
Called Drew
Or
Fireface?
no, Sheamus Fireface. I think it was like John Morrison or The Miz.
Oh.
It was somebody.
Doesn't count.
Oh no, it was AJ. AJ was still calling him Fireface. Riddle called him that?
Oh, really?
Because I know it was during the tag team match. AJ was like mocking him and called him Fireface. Yeah, Riddle came up with it, Splucha. But I think during the tag team match, or rather after, AJ was calling him Fireface. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, so that promo ended, and then we had the triple threat, which I thought would be the main event because they've really been promoting that rather than the tag team match. But I guess it makes sense. You wouldn't have that tag team match and what resulted from it without the triple threat winner.
Right. I mean, also, can we just make a quick note to say that the booking of tonight was very weird. Based on how they shoved the Dana Mia Yim fight in between the triple threat and the main event. They straight up just were like, we don't want to talk about this.
They had to give AJ some rest before going on to the tag team.
All right. Triple threat, Lee versus Styles versus Riddle. Got to the point towards the end where I could not keep up. My apologies. So Riddle quickly attacks Styles. I'm trying not to hiccup. It's not working. Riddle quickly attacks Styles. Styles pulls him away from the ring, but Riddle sends AJ into the barricade. Riddle goes to get back in, but Keith Lee punches him. Lee goes to dive out onto the men, but they flee. Lee gets back into the ring after chasing the guys. Styles stomps on him. There's a kick to the side from Riddle. Keith Lee grabs both men in a chokehold. Does absolutely nothing. Nothing comes of it. But we're setting up for something cool. But he just kind of pushes them. Which is kind of annoying. Riddle then tries to kick Styles. There's a crossbody to Riddle from Lee. There's a knee to the middle of AJ from Keith, sending AJ into Mr. Riddle. And there's a back body drop to AJ from Keith Lee that, like, AJ goes fucking flying. Get an elbow on Riddle's hand. Riddle manages to get up. He punches Keith a few times. There's one big shot from Lee to Riddle, sending him down to the ground. Riddle then kicks Lee through the ropes, and Keith Lee bonks Mr. Riddle's head into the buckle. Lee is then attacked by Styles. Keith shoves him into Omos. Omos puts AJ back on the apron so he can send a running knee into Keith. I will not get over the image of Jordan just gently lifting AJ back up to the apron like a child. Styles. So Riddle gets up to the top rope, goes off looking for the senton, but Styles counters, sticking his little feetsies up in the air and basically catching him and throwing him, which I thought was really fucking cool. I really like that. Lee then sent Styles hard into the post, began ragdolling Riddle. There was a spirit bomb attempt, which went right into a triangle sub on Keith from Matt. AJ gets in, and Keith uses Riddle as a weapon, slinging him into AJ, which speaks to both Keith's strength and Matt Riddle's fucking grip. There's a suplex to Styles from Riddle. He goes to Keith, but Keith just shoves him away. Styles gets up. There's a spinning back fist and a step up enziguri to Keith. Then a flying forearm smash to Keith. Styles sets up for the phenomenal forearms, much different from the flying forearms. But Keith headbutts him in the chest to stop him. And then goes up to the second rope to meet him. Riddle tries to lift Keith, but is too weak and then has to put him down. Keith Lee then tosses Matt Riddle. Styles covers on Lee with the phenomenal forearms, but Keith pushes him off onto Riddle. Riddle evades a Styles clash once he gets back up because Keith grabs AJ. I don't know where this went after this, but I know Matt Riddle threw AJ down into a fisherman's suplex, and then there was an overhead kick to AJ from Matt. We got the Grizzly Magnum to Riddle from Keith Lee. Phenomenal forearms to Riddle to get AJ Styles the win. Pretty pleased with it. Wouldn't have minded if it was Keith, but AJ versus Drew is a pretty interesting match in my head, so.
Yeah. And I wonder how Omos is going to fit into that equation. Whether he might take the title off of Drew with Omos's help. Although I think it's doubtful, but I would like to see Drew Claymore kick almost.
I feel like Drew won't be scared of him quite like other people are.
Right. Drew's in this very cocky phase right now.
Dude, usually I challenge you on that. Drew was starting to annoy me a little bit tonight. He was being a little bit of a dick.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if maybe it's just because it was more targeted towards Sheamus, and I feel protective of their friendship.
Mm-hmm.
But it was extra grating to me. I was like, you guys are pals. You'd be fucking nice.
But anyway, moving on from that, we have we have an interview with the Miz and Morrison where oh god, they're talking to Charlie. No, they're just like Miz is bringing up all this stuff about the briefcase and Drew and Miz. Charlie says, "You're just bringing up facts. You're not giving us a plan or anything," and this perplexes the Miz. And then John Morrison's like, "You know what? I've got a plan. Come with me." And then they go off. And then we have, unfortunately, Dana Brooke versus Reckoning.
Yeah. I didn't even bother highlighting these notes because there's 12. If that. That might be generous. So we start with a massive dropkick to Dana right off the bat. It was actually pretty cool. A great first move for your main roster debut. But Dana then slams Mia into the ground. There's a clothesline to Dana and then a kick to the ribs, some chops. Then there's a kick to the spine of Dana, but all sort of falls apart once there's a jawbreaker to Mia and a kick to the face. Dana then clotheslines Mia. Mustafa distracts Dana. Mia tries to capitalize and attack her. But Dana just rolls her up to win. And then Mustafa gets in the ring and just berates Reckoning the entire time. And I'm saying shit there's no room for losing in Retribution. I was like, then what is the rest of your team doing? There's no room because everyone else is also losing.
Yeah, Mason T-Bar have also been losing a lot. That was Reckoning's first loss.
The only winner is Slapjack.
Maybe if Mustafa hadn't had Reckoning sit out this entire time, she would actually have wrestling in her bones and, able to take on Dana Brooke of all people. But after that, we had AJ Styles approached by Miz and Morrison, who want to conspire with AJ about tag team match and cashing in on Drew, and then AJ shockingly agrees, even though not shockingly, because he then says that it will be easier to take on The Miz than Drew, obviously. So it only makes sense. And that's that, and then we move on to a promo with Riddle and MVP, where MVP is backstage and Riddle, or I think it's the other way around. Riddle is backstage and MVP approaches him. MVP called him stupid and yada yada yada. And then Bobby Lashley attacks Riddle, takes him out. After that, we had Heath Lee and Sheamus backstage, and Keith also brings up betraying Drew. Shockingly, I thought Keith and Drew were friends.
Wait. When Keith brings it up, it sounds more like he's trying to dissuade Sheamus, because he said, I heard that you're gonna turn on Drew. And it doesn't sound like he's hyped about it in any way.
Really? Oh, it sounded more to me like he's like, so you gonna do it?
I think it was sort of like, how when Eldon knows that we're about to make a bad decision, and he's like, are you about to actually do this? And we're like, I don't know, am I? Is that the wrong answer? That's sort of what this felt like to me.
Okay. But anyway, after that we had Drew McIntyre unfortunately, in the ring, being interviewed.
Hey!
It's unfortunate. And said that Roman only beat him because Jay was there. And,
To be fair, that's not really wrong.
I mean, yeah.
Drew had the upper hand, and then Jay came sprinting along.
But then Drew gives a warning to both AJ Styles and The Miz if they come for the title. And then I believe that's the match. Yep, there's the main event match. Drew McIntyre and Sheamus versus Miz and Morrison.
My hair is at that point, even though it's not really cold. But since the heat is coming on, my hair is at that point where if I run my hands through it, just goes staticky. So. At least her feeling in the world is like staticky hair clinging to me. Makes me want to shave my fucking head. So, Miz and Morrison versus Sheamus and Drewby Booby. A lot of this was me and Mark just saying, like, Mark and myself, saying, like, well, maybe Sheamus will do this, and that's what's gonna fuck the matchup, or maybe Sheamus is gonna sacrifice himself, and we got absolutely nothing. So we had Sheamus versus The Miz. Sheamus throws The Miz over his back, sends him from the ring. Drew helpfully loads him back in. Sheamus chops him down. Morrison gets in. Sheamus begins clobbering him. And Drew tags in on the back of Sheamus. And Sheamus, notorious team player, gets pissed off. Which, in all fairness, anytime I watch a tag team match, you bring the guy into your corner, you usually tag your teammate in. Almost always how it works. But anyways, Sheamus gets pissy about this, but lets Drew get in one way or the other. Okay. There's some fucking hard-ass forearms to Morrison from Drew, sending him absolutely fucking spiraling. Drew gets Sheamus right back in. A kick to the chest of Morrison from Drew, and then a knee to his side from Sheamus. Sheamus does his 10 beats of the bottom to Miz and Morrison, and collectively it was at least more than 10 this time, so I'll give him a pass on that one. Shay then plants Morrison, tosses Miz on top of him. Sheamus starts yelling at AJ, as if that's something that we need to be doing right now, because AJ is commentating with the other three. But he jumps out of the ring. Miz tries to blindside him. Sheamus clobbers him. And then almost gets mad at Sheamus for yelling at his son. And Sheamus backs away. And is immediately met by a knee from Morrison. But we have Sheamus versus Morrison. There's a kick to the head of Morrison. And then a kick to the chest of Sheamus. Miz gets in. He falls on Sheamus's arm and immediately brings him into a sleeper hold. Gets Morrison back in. There's a knee from Morrison onto Sheamus, and then a kick to the face from The Miz, and I guess a corkscrew drop elbow. Morrison has so many weird fucking moves that nobody ever actually says the name for. I'm just like, I don't know. This is what it looked like. I guess. But there's a submission hold on Sheamus. He can't reach Drew to get the tag. Sheamus manages to fight out with some punches. Morrison punches him in the knee. Then there's a pump knee strike to Morrison from Sheamus. Miz gets in. Drew gets in. Miz trips on his way in. It's just spectacular. Drew does what Drew does best, which is chopping the Miz down with some forearms. There were a couple of massive toss fucking suplexes to the Miz, and then Morrison, just for good fucking measure. We got our good old neck breaker into the kip up. Drew looks like he's about to break his fucking ankle on this one. For realsies this time, as opposed to all the other times. Drew sees that Sheamus really wants to get fucking in. He really wants in. And at first I was like, oh, Drew's gonna fucking slight him. Drew's gonna just, let that shit go. He's gonna, look like he's about to tag him in and then say, psych, I'm Drew McIntyre. He doesn't. Drew goes to tag Sheamus in. Because Drew trusts Sheamus. Because they're friends.
What?
I was like, oh, okay, there's still Drew inside of that man. Thank God. But Morrison ruins the loving, touching moment by pulling Sheamus off of the apron and then kind of just like shrugging at Drew. He's like, well, now what are you gonna do? It doesn't matter what Drew's gonna do. AJ Styles decides this is my moment. Jumps off the top rope, phenomenal forearms down to Drew McIntyre, causing a DQ in the match, meaning Drew automatically wins. Drew's dead. Miz and Morrison and AJ are all fucking arguing. AJ wants Miz to fucking cash in the briefcase because Drew's knocked the fuck out. Morrison decides to, top it off a little bit. Goes off the top rope onto Drew. Miz does his little skull crushing finale to Drew. AJ gets almost to bring the briefcase in an attempt to cash it in. Miz looks like he is fucking convinced until Drew rises from the dead. Thank you, Taker. Sends Morrison over the top rope. Claymore kicks the Miz. Looks like he's about to go after AJ until almost grabs AJ up, puts him over his shoulder like a petulant child, and loads him out. All the while, AJ's screaming, "You're lucky he's holding me! I could rip you apart!" And I was like, you know what? Honestly, that's an Elizabeth vibe right fucking there. That's me.
That's whenever we're holding the cat.
She starts fighting.
God. So.
And that was our episode.
Yeah, we've got a best of the night now. I'm pretty much
Keith,
solid.
what's your best of the night?
Like when I went to bed.
She's currently all curled up. She looks so cute. It's disgusting.
Oh.
Good job, Pete.
But yeah, so promo of the night. Whenever you get that sign up, I'm solid in my decision. I know what it's gonna be because there's only one promo that really piqued my interest today.
I think I might have a pretty good opinion on it too.
Alright, so we started off with a moment of bliss. Very, very captivating segment with Randy. I think this was the most interesting promo that we had because it gave the most towards a storyline that no other promos did. And it was subtle enough to where it feels like actual storytelling and not just wrestling. I loved it. I loved everything about this. I loved Alexa. I loved Randy. I loved the Fiend. We saw a different side to the Fiend. We saw a different side to Alexa Bliss. And we see some evolution in Randy. Then we had the Keith and Riddle promo, which was funny. We had the Retribution promo, which is a Retribution promo. We had Miz TV, which was interesting. Kind of average Miz TV, but you know. We had a Lana and Asuka promo, which was eh. We had a Nia and Shayna interview, which was eh. We had a Sheamus promo, which was okay. We had a New Day talking in the ring and being confronted by the Hurt Business. The best part here was just coked out Cedric, but even then, I'm confused. We had the AJ Styles promo, with Riddle. That was okay. Miz and Morrison interview. This was completely unnecessary. We had AJ, the Miz and Morrison, which was good plot development, definitely. We had the Riddle and MVP promo, I guess. We had Sheamus and Keith promo. And then we had Drew talking because he never stops. So if you couldn't tell what my pick is, it's 100% a moment of bliss with Randy.
I have to agree with you. I really liked it. Plus, excuse me, that's the only breath I'm gonna get for like the next 10 minutes. Amazing how much I can fucking talk when I can't breathe, though. Either way, I really liked it because one, it kind of reminded us that like Alexa Bliss is like doing whatever the fuck she's doing right now, but at the same time, like she might look cute and quirky. But there's more to it.
Yeah, she'll kick your ass.
The only vibe that I love is tiny Alexa Bliss just staring Randy Orton in the fucking face, dude. That was it. That's my sexuality right there. Nothing else. But yeah, I really like that. Yeah, I thought it was really good. I thought it did a lot for the story, and I'm really excited to see where this storyline ends up.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we're gonna get Braun and Bray, but better.
Yeah.
And concise.
Everything can be better than that. But Wrestler of the Night, I am also set on what my choice is, but I'll still run through them.
Slapjack, isn't it?
Yeah. We started off with Jeff Hardy versus Elias. I picked Elias mainly because of him swatting at Jeff as he's midair with a guitar. But Jeff annoys me. He annoys me 100%.
Also, his blue and yellow face paint kept rubbing off on Elias, and I genuinely thought that Elias was like having like a health issue where he was bruising really fucking easily.
Mm-hmm.
I got genuinely concerned. I was like, when it mixes, first of all, yellow is like the color of bruises. When you mix the blue in, also looks like a bruise. Plus, green looks like a bruise, and I was like, did Elias get into like a fucking brawl over the weekend or something?
Nope, it was just this brawl.
It was just the brawl between himself and the fact that AJ Styles does not. AJ Styles, holy shit.
Where did you get that from?
There's a J in it. And
Yeah.
a Y. And there's an E.
Okay. But after that we had Ricochet versus Slapjack. I picked Ricochet. Ricochet's good. He's a great wrestler. I think he just had more time to shine than Slapjack, honestly. Yeah, that's really it. Then we had Asuka and Lana versus Shayna and Nia. Oh, I didn't pick anyone for this. Wow. Because nobody deserved to win this. That's why. Then we had Cedric Alexander versus Xavier Woods. 100% Xavier. Xavier just looked insane. He didn't look as insane as normal, but he's still looking fantastic, even if it's just a singles match. Cedric is very close with Xavier, but I think Xavier just came off with a lot more personality than Cedric today. Despite how Cedric appeared in promos and stuff. Okay. After that, we had the sudden death triple threat between Heath Lee, AJ Styles, and Riddle. They picked Riddle. I don't know why. None of them really interested me today.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then after that, we had we're gonna skip over Dana and Reckoning and go straight to Drew and Sheamus versus Miz and Morrison. I'm probably coming off as a huge sexist right now because I basically either said the women's matches don't matter or none of them deserve to win. So I apologize, but no, it was just that bad today for women's wrestling.
It wasn't great.
It would have helped if Dana and Reckoning had gone on a little longer, but it was still bad. I literally wrote Dana ? In my wrestlers list.
Also, Dana needs to work on her like selling of the moves.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired of the porn star screams. A little tired of those. Just like the like, all right. Stop.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
But going to the main event, we had Drew and Sheamus versus Miz and Morrison. Again, nobody really impressed me in this match. Drew didn't have much time in the ring at all. Sheamus was probably my pick for this just because he had the most time, and he's basically fighting off two opponents at once, and you know, he's Sheamus. He did a great job, but I don't think he did the best today. In fact, my pick for Wrestler of the Night is Xavier Woods.
Oh, boy, that's not what I was going with.
Were you gonna go with Drew again?
I love that you continue to do this, even though you know how much it makes me mad.
It's just a bit. I'm just doing a bit. Relax.
Don't like that bit.
Oh my god,
Don't
so picky with the bits.
Say bit one more fucking time. I will come in there. No, I thought it was Cedric, actually.
Really?
I like Cedric more. I just liked that he was just a dude possessed tonight. Like, in the fucking lumbar check, because like it's one thing to do that, and like I would have kind of assumed like, okay, whatever, if he like missed it by a little bit, like whatever. He got that full on, and that included him tossing my dude in the air and then making sure he landed on his goddamn shins. I thought that was such a cool fucking move, and including the fucking brainbuster. Like, oh man, he was mean tonight. He was a mean dude.
Alright, I'll concede just because Cedric was my second place. It was very close, so yeah, I'll go with Cedric.
When you chose Xavier for when you were going through everything, I was like, oh boy, all right.
Also, the Raw logo is again disappearing, so
yes.
I don't know what's going on.
Dude.
Alright, so match of the night. Again, I know what my pick is. We had Jeff Hardy versus Elias, which was decent as hell. Not the best Orchestra of Destruction. The 24/7 appearance was kind of lame, considering it didn't move into anything later on in the night. That was just the only appearance of the 24/7 title. Then we had Ricochet versus Slapjack, which was okay. I thought it really dipped when Mustafa called in the rest of Retribution, meaning Mace and T-Bar. I thought from that point on it got very cheesy and lame. Dana coming in to slap Mustafa was also lame. After that we had Asuka and Lana versus Shayna and Nia. This match was pretty bleh. It was pretty okay, average.
Yeah.
Nothing super impressive. That's really it. Didn't move forward any storylines at all. Then we had Cedric versus Xavier, which was a great match with two great wrestlers. Gave us a new side to Ricochet. Gave us a little advancement in the storyline. Kind of putting Cedric in this new spot in Hurt Business. Don't know what's going on with him. But that's just the mystique in it. We anticipate next week now because of it. Then we had the sudden death triple threat. Who knows why they called it sudden death? Beats me. Between Keith, AJ, and Riddle. Which was pretty good. It wasn't bad. It was still good. It was definitely just a wrestling match, and I appreciate that. But it didn't have anything extra to it. It didn't have any storyline pushes or anything, and it was very much just a pure wrestling match. And then we have Dana versus Reckoning, which was dumb.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about that if you don't want to.
This was bad, and that's it. Alright, so we had Drew and Sheamus versus Miz and Morrison. This match was pretty good. Good storytelling until we got to the point where AJ steps in the ring and DQs the match. And then we almost have Miz cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase until Drew just wakes up and Claymore kicks the fuck out of him. It was a good match. I wouldn't say it was anything amazing. It was still good. would have been better if we hadn't had the DQ ending, but you know. So with that said, I don't think it's any surprise. My pick for match of the night is Cedric Alexander versus Xavier Woods.
Pains me because I really did like the Drew Sheamus match, but I would have liked it more if I saw anything between Sheamus saying fuck you to the Miz and Morrison or saying fuck you to Drew.
Yeah.
We didn't get that, and that was like half the fucking build up to this match.
Right.
And I like really looked forward to seeing them wrestle together. Like, this is something I've wanted since they interacted for the first time together on Raw since the draft.
And I wouldn't even consider this them wrestling together.
Yeah, it was just like they had one tandem offense, and that was it. Everything else was just Drew doing stuff, Sheamus doing stuff. The only really good thing that we got was Sheamus, like Drew loading, I think it was the Miz back in after Sheamus kicked him out of the ring, and that moment when Drew was about to tag him in. But because I wasn't happy about that much, I have to agree with you. Because I think we really got some good-ass fucking character development on this one.
Yeah, we did. So, running it back, our promo of the night, A Moment of Bliss with Randy Orton. Wrestler of the night, Cedric Alexander. And match of the night, Cedric Alexander versus Xavier Woods. Would you like to close us out?
Vibes, brother. I would love to close this out. So, if you tuned in tonight, thank you. I appreciate it. I really do. If you tuned in the future, thank you. I really appreciate it. I really do. And we're getting close to Hanukkah, so maybe you're celebrating Hanukkah. I know I still haven't cleaned out my menorah. Yeah, thank you for tuning in. Please tune in this coming Wednesday, assuming I can breathe and I'm alive again. Can't promise anything, but anyways, we will be watching NXT, and we usually have our best opinions when it comes to NXT. So, take us home.
Alright, so thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, hit that follow button right down below. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Like, comment, whatever, you know, whatever every cliche YouTuber says. If you're watching on Twitch, please check us out on YouTube. If you missed part of this show or want to check out the previous podcasts, that's the Pinfall podcast on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, check out the live show. We can talk to you live. There's no reason not to. And that's twitch.tv/the Pinfall Podcast. Follow our Twitter at Pinfall Podcast. Follow our personal Twitters. I'm at the Mark Cameron. Liz is at Eliza Elaine23. And lastly, check out the Universal Pokemon Federation on YouTube. It's a project we're all working on together. It's super fun, super awesome, combining WWE and Pokemon. You won't want to miss it. We have full episodes coming out very soon, so you won't want to miss it. Alright, thank you so much for watching, everybody. We'll see you on Wednesday for NXT. And also, this is the last podcast of November, and you know what December means, Liz?
Oh.
Every podcast you shouted out except this one.
I forgot what day it was.
The Mike Romies.
Oh! Guess what? Starting tomorrow's the 19-day countdown, you little bitches. It's the Mike Romies. It's happening. I will not step down on this one. It's going to be so goddamn good. Your brain's going to be blown. Podcast starting probably around 7. Saturday Night Funsies? Hell yeah. Drunk as tits? Probably. Mike Rome? Probably not. But yeah, we'll do what we can. I'm so fucking excited for this shit. We're going to have so many fun fucking categories. You're going to be entertained, or at least you could pretend to be.
Alright, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you on Wednesday. Have a great night.